Hey all, welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Channel. I'm Darren, and today I'm going to make some beef plate ribs. This is a big 3-bone, big piece of plate rib from the steer I had butchered, and I'm going to actually cook these up. We're going to make them more of a medium well type this time for a traditional barbecue kind of type finish. But we're going to use the new Rebel PolyScience HydroPro Plus with the probe to measure the internal temperatures. So I'll be right back, show you what I'm going to do to get these going. I'll be back.
Smoking, grilling, getting hot and hotter, sous vide and chilling from fire and water.
Alright guys, so I got this big 3-bone beef plate ribs here, and these are pretty big bones. There's one here, and one here at the end. And I'm going to cook these for 48 hours, and I'm going to cook them on the higher end, like probably over like 140, 145 area. And then we're going to finish them up on the smoker and get some smoke to them. So they're not going to be like I've cooked before, medium rare or anything like that. I've cooked plate ribs, short ribs before. I've cooked back ribs, and I have done some plate ribs before, and I can't remember if I've done a video on them. But this one I want to do with the new HydroPro Plus from PolyScience, and we're going to actually monitor the internal temperature with the probe that's built in. And for that, I need to use this tape, and this is the Sous Vide tape that PolyScience has, and as you can tell, it's pretty thick, and it's going to stick to this bag, believe it or not. And we're going to I'm going to go right in between one of the bones here and try to measure the internal temperature of the meat, the whole entire cook. So I'll probably go in this way and then right in between the bones, just so we can get a good measurement in there. So I'm going to actually put the tape on the bag and let it sit on there for a minute, and then we're going to shove the HydroPro Plus temp thermometer in it when I'm putting it in the bath. So I'm going to go ahead and get this tape on, and I'll show you when I'm done. Alright, I'm going to kind of show you what I'm going to do here. And as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3 bones here. And I'm going to go right here with my tape. And what I've done is I cut a good square of that tape off, and that's going to go right here, and that's where my probe's going to go. First of all, I'm going to kind of dry this off as much as possible before I put that on. So just so you know, I wanted to show you where it was going, because I didn't really want to have you down here. But I'm going to dry that area off as much as possible before I get the tape on there. And this is kind of like heavy duty weather stripping, and it should not come off in the bath. So you want to put some pressure on there just to make sure it sticks. I got as much of that moisture off of there as possible, and that's it. And then we're going to show you how it's set up, and the probe's going to go just shoot right in between that in the middle of the tape, and it goes right into the meat, and that's how we're going to monitor it. Alright guys, I got my HydroPro Plus set up, and remember, I can set the bottom to have it circulate any which way I want it to go, so I have it going left to right here just by turning the bottom. So even though I have it faced towards me, the water's going left to right. So it makes that really convenient. I can pretty much adjust it any which way I want to go. I'm going to go ahead and plug my probe in right into the back, and it's going to give you a little 2 beeps to let you know that it's plugged in and that it's working. And I'm going to go ahead and set my temperature 145, and that's what we're going to cook it at. And we're going to set the monitor the temperature, but you can set an alarm here, so the alarm will go off when it hits a certain internal temperature. I set it to 143 just so I can kind of see if the alarm works like it should. So all you really need to do is take the probe out of the sleeve and then plug it right in the middle of the tape where it is, and have it go as far into the meat as you can so you can get a really accurate reading here. You want it to go in as deep as you can, because that's what we're monitoring, how long it takes to get all the way to the center. So that's it. We're going to plug it in. We're going to monitor it. You can see it drop the temperature already. So I'll see you back when we're ready to take this out. Well, alright guys, our plate ribs have been in the sous vide for 48 hours at 145, and you can see the internal probe, it's reading 144.7, and it's been that way for a good long time. So I guess it kind of won't get exactly up to the 145 even, but it's 0.3 of a degree. But I guess that's pretty good. I could always calibrate the probe on this one, and remember these probes have the chip built into them, so once I calibrate that probe, it'll stay calibrated. I won't have to do it anymore. It stays with the probe, and I can move that to another PolyScience HydroPro Plus, and it'll still remain calibrated. So alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and take these ribs out, put them in the ice bath, and get my Traeger getting up to a temp. Alright guys, I got my bag out of the sous vide bath, and as you can see, that's where I had my tape, and it's still stuck to the bag, no problems. Actually, probably could pull it off if I wanted to, but it's still there, and actually no extra water in there. There's a lot of bag purge in there, of course, because it was cooked so long at a higher temperature. So of course there's more bag purge than normal. I'm gonna ice these down for a little bit. I've got my Traeger getting up to 225. We're gonna do super smoke mode to get some good smoke on these. These will probably stay in here a good 35-40 minutes, and I'll hit them with the instant read thermometer before I put them back on, just so we can see what the internal temp is before we put it on the smoker. There's no way this is going to get down to 35 degrees or 40 degrees. It'll probably get down to about 80 or so internal temp before we stick them on the pellet grill, but we'll just leave them just like that. Put a little bit more seasoning on them when I take them out of the ice bath and out of the bag before I put them on the grill. So alright guys, I'll be back when I'm sticking these on the smoker. Alright guys, my Traeger is up to temp, and these have been in here a good 30 minutes or so. I'm going to go ahead and just temp them right through the bag. Don't really care. Oh, there we go. Yeah, see, they're still down to 131, so they're cooler than what they were at, but they're still not really cold all the way inside. So it's still 130 degrees. I'm going to give these a few more minutes to chill out. Try to get the internal down just another 5 or 6 degrees at least. I don't need a whole lot of time on these to get some good smoke and bark, but I want to have a little bit more. I don't want them to get too far over the 145 or so that we had them cooking at. So if I can get these down another 10 degrees, that'll give me another 20 minutes in smoke. That'll be fine. So I'll be back when I got these on the rack. Alright guys, let's get these ribs ready to go. And what I'm going to do is, you can see I got a little bit of the fat still on there. Got the big hunk of meat. Got my rub here. And I'm just going to kind of sprinkle it over the top. Try to get as much on there as I can. I really don't care about getting the sides too much. If you want, you can move it around with your spoon, or you can use your hands to get this on. You can just toss it on like this if you like. Just as long as you get it on there. Don't need a ton, because remember, this was already seasoned when we put it in the bag. So we're just putting this on there to get that final crust. You put some on the bottom. You can see those bones here sticking out. And I'm just going to stick it right on the smoker just like this, and let that smoke get to it. I got it set at 225 on the super smoke setting for right now. I might crank it up a little bit after a while to get a nice crust on the outside. So alright guys, I'm going to take this over to the Traeger and get it in. I'll see you over there. Alright guys, ready to put this on at 225 on super smoke. for about 35 or 40 minutes. Then I'm going to crank the temperature up to probably around 375 or so to get a nice crust on there. All right, I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, you got it. I'm going to probe my meat here. I did crank it up to about 375. I'm going to see what the internal temp is and if we're anywhere close to the 145. And it looks like we got plenty of room. We're right at about 135 right now, so I got another 10 degrees to go. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this on for another 10 or 15 minutes just to get a nice better color to it on the bark and all that. All right, so I'll see you guys back in a few minutes. All right, guys, another 10 or 15 minutes and it's done. Now remember, these are plate ribs, so there is a plate right underneath there. So there's a big wad of meat right on top of these big plate bone that goes across left to right. So you're not really able to cut all the way through and pull these off like you would your 3 or 4 bone big chuck ribs. So this is a big plate that's underneath there as well. So, but you can tell it turned out pretty close to medium. I did set it at a little bit higher temp than medium, but it came out really good. The fat rendered pretty good. It's still very moist and tender. The 48 hours was enough to make this pretty tender, and it kept the moisture because we cooked it at a 145. Got plenty of smoke, plenty of bark to it as far as that goes. Not disappointed with this at all. Really juicy, tender. Plenty of moisture on these. Make sure you check it out. Check out the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. Check out Fire and Water Cooking Facebook group and page. Check out Fire and Water Cooking Instagram, and I'll see you on the next Fire and Water Cooking video.